All right, well, hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar titled How to Replace Management Reporter with Excel-Based Active Reporter. My name is Bobby Haggard, and I'm one of the consultants here at TrendSoft. Now, let's hit on a few housekeeping reminders before we jump in to the webinar. First up, now just remember that phones have been muted, and be sure to turn your audio up on your device or your headphones if you're using those. Additionally, if you have questions, please use the Q&A, the chat service here on GoToWebinar, and we'll be happy to address those. And then finally, if you would like the presentation slides or recording of the presentation webinar at the conclusion, please just let us know, and we'll definitely be sure to get those links sent your way. We are excited to welcome the AccountingWare team to this webinar so that they can show us how to replace Management Reporter with their Excel-based Active Reporter solution. TrendSoft has been working with the AccountingWare team now for a handful of years, and we have several Dynamics GP clients currently using this Excel-based reporting tool. On our webinar today, we'll see how easy it is to generate financial reports within Excel for an unlimited number of companies by utilizing standard Excel function and commands. With that, I'm going to hand things off to Marvin and the AccountingWare team. Take it away, Marvin.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you for the team at TrendSoft for inviting us to present today. And as Bobby said, I'm Marvin Crossnow, and I'll be doing the presentation today. So we also have at the end of the webinar a chance to win a gift certificate for $25 to Amazon. So if you'll stick around after the webinar and fill out the survey, you'll be put in a drawing for this $25 gift certificate. For many years, our company was known as Intuitive, but Intuitive was hard to spell and hard to pronounce and hard to tell other people how to pronounce. So about 9 months ago, we changed the name of our company from Intuitive to AccountingWare. And AccountingWare pretty well tells you what we do. We write accounting-related software. And the product that we're going to show you today is ActivReporter. ActivReporter has been in development for over 15 years, and it is an Excel-based reporting tool that gives insight into your Dynamics GP data. This product is not a new product. It has been in development for many years, but in 2017, GPUG, we did announce this product. When I demonstrate the ActivReporter product, I like to show three major features. The first feature is what we've been talking about, and that is using Excel to do your financial reporting instead of a product like Management Reporter. Now, what I want to emphasize here is that this product is just Excel. It is not an application built on top of Excel like many people who claim to have Excel-based reporters do. This is just Excel, and it's just Excel with about 50 functions that ActivReporter embeds into the native Excel product to give you spreadsheets with your financial data. Each one of these functions takes data out of your Dynamics GP data and puts it into some cell on a spreadsheet. So it is just Excel. Also, we have a tool that if you're currently using Management Reporter, this tool will allow you to do about 85% of the work, getting you from Management Reporter to ActivReporter. And the things that you have left to do to get it to be a full product is just Excel work. There's not a big learning curve for ActivReporter like there are some of our competitors, because we are just Excel with added functions. And if you know how to use Excel, you know how to use ActivReporter. The other thing that we like to show is that ActivReporter gives you a lot of visibility into your Dynamics GP general ledger data. This is like a smart list, but it's about 1,000 times faster than smart list, and we'll show that to you in the demonstration. We call it a smart list on steroids. And the final thing that we like to show is something we call an active trial balance. The report that you get in the trial balance report with a native GP product is a static report to the screen or to the paper. But the active trial balance is a dynamic report, and you'll see it change as the underlying data in Dynamics GP changes. It's a very great research product for day-to-day operations in your Dynamics GP installation. So these are the three things that we like to show during a demonstration, but really there's a fourth thing, and that is ActivReporter is extremely fast. And really there's a fifth thing, and that is it is extremely affordable. So these are the things that we want to talk about today in the ActivReporter feature set. When I demonstrate ActivReporter, what I like to do is first show you a finished product. I'm going to show you what happens after you get your spreadsheets built, what it looks like, and what the functionality is in the underlying Excel experience. Then we'll step back, we'll introduce you to ActivReporter and show you how easy it is to build these Excel financial workbooks in the Excel product. So with that, we're going to put away the slides until the very end, and we're going to go directly to the Excel experience in ActivReporter. So the first thing I said I was going to show you is I'm going to show you how or what the spreadsheet looks like when you finish it and you're ready to use it in your daily operations. Well, this is an Excel spreadsheet. It is just Excel, except there are some unique features to this particular spreadsheet and this balance sheet. So for any number on this balance sheet, I can punch this button, which is the Drill Down Explorer, and I get this window in the screen called the Drill Down Explorer. And what this represents is all the postings in your Dynamics GP data that make up that $223,148 on your balance sheet. And I can scroll all the way through them. This is like your smart list in steroids. And there's 1,785 of them. When it came up almost instantaneously in less than 1 second. But what's unique about this product is that for any number on here, with a single keystroke, I can drill back to Dynamics GP. So I can see that $840.14 back here in Dynamics GP. And of course, once you get into Dynamics GP, you can further trace that back to the source documents in Dynamics GP. So the experience that you'll have after you get your financial statements built in a product like in the ActivReporter product is that you'll be able to take any number on that spreadsheet, drill down to the underlying detail. In this case, there's 986 postings in your Dynamics GP data that make up that 2,020,000 on the spreadsheet. And then for any number on here, you can, with a single keystroke, drill back and see that posting back in Dynamics GP for 5842.15, and then of course you can drill back further if it were in a subsidiary package. Okay, so now that we've shown you what the experience is after you get your spreadsheets built, now let's look at the kinds of spreadsheets you can build. So what we've got on the screen right now is a balance sheet. The balance sheet is fairly unique because over on the left side, we have the assets, and over on the right side, we have the liabilities and equity. This is hard to do in a product like Management Reporter, but it's very easy to do in Excel and ActivReporter because ActivReporter just places numbers or text or things on an Excel spreadsheet out of your Dynamics GP data. And you can put any piece of data in any cell on any spreadsheet. So this is a balance sheet. We also have here down at the bottom a lot of tabs. And so the second tab, we have an income statement compared to budget. Well, here we have a column for actual, we have a column for budget, and a column for variance. And then we also have a graph here. And this graph is a native capability of Excel because Excel can be used to put graphs on your financial designs. In the third tab at the bottom, we see that we have an income statement by month. So the sample data that we have the data where we are looking at the April of 2017, and this is a monthly report. There are some postings into the future here denoting some prepaid expenses and things like that. I can choose to turn those on or off by putting in a number like 0430 to have this representation of 0430 in 1917, or in 2017, sorry. So now I can turn off those future postings and just see January through April. And the next tab at the bottom, this is an income statement with the trailing 12 months. So this is the current month and the previous 12 months with an average of by month at the end, which is just a Excel calculation. We also can look at something like the trailing 4 years. We can also have somewhat of a special financial, because in designing financials in a management reporter, you typically have time across the horizontal axis, and down the vertical axis, you'll have accounts or account aggregates. But since ActivReporter and your Excel experience with ActivReporter, you can put any number in any cell. We can reverse that by putting accounts and account aggregations across the horizontal and time down the vertical. We can also do cash flow statements. We can either use the direct or indirect method for cash flows, because this is just Excel, and you can pull any kind of data out of your GP database, put it on a spreadsheet. So direct or indirect or any other kind of statement that you want is really immaterial. We can also work with multiple companies. In this case, Fabricam and Gabricam and the university are 3 separate databases. For Fabricam and Gabricam, these can be reported on the same financial, being in separate databases, but on the university, their funds are in the same database using a product like MEM, and the capability of using companies as a segment in your chart of account number. So we can report in separate databases, or we can report in a single database using a segment as your delineator, and we can even combine all of those into the same financial and put a consolidated financial at the consolidated numbers at the end. And we can also get very fancy, because this is a spreadsheet meant for a boardroom. This is interesting because over here on the left side, we have a balance sheet, and over here on the right side, we have an income statement. It all ties together. We have graphs in the middle. We have a picture of the company headquarters at the top. And this is all possible because the experience in Excel and ActivReporter is just Excel with added functions. Now, I've said that statement several times, so let me illustrate. If you look at the name of the company and look at the function up here in the function bar, you'll notice that that's the company name function. So we're pulling the company name out of the database, not as a literal typed on to the spreadsheet. Also, for the period ending, the period ending function is one of those that's in this that we have built into Excel to give you the period ending. Also, things like descriptions of cash. These are segment descriptions out of the database. And then, of course, the numbers. And so this particular number is a balance. So balance is one of the functions that yields numeric results that we have added to Excel. So balance is one of those functions. If we look at another one of these spreadsheets and look at the numbers here, this is a year-to-date function. If we look at another one of these spreadsheets and look at the number here, this is an activity, or the activity during a period. You also see at the top that there's a special ribbon tab. So this is just Excel with the home ribbon, the insert ribbon, but there's also an Activity HD ribbon. And all of those functions that I just talked about are here in the functions area of the ribbon. So here you have the numerical functions. Here you have the segment functions for descriptions. Here you have the functions for individual accounts. Here you have the functions for the period. And here you have the functions for the company, and then some special functions. So that is how we implement Excel in ActivReporter. So now that we've shown you some finished products and what the product will look like after you finish, now I want to put this spreadsheet away, and now I want to go into the ActivReporter product. Now, just for reference, because in a few minutes I'm going to do something different, the the spreadsheet that I just showed you, this one right here, this was actually saved out, or this is actually out here on the Windows file system on my desktop. And I point that out because in a few minutes, we're going to show you that we like for our customers to store their data, store their Excel spreadsheets inside the database, not on the desktop. So that's just for reference here in a minute. Now I'm going to bring up the ActivReporter product itself. And you'll notice that over here in the navigation pane, I have 5 companies: Fabricam, Gabricam, Habricam, Mabricam, and University. And as you might expect, all the Abricam companies are similar in data. But the University is a large data set with over 3 million transactions. So we can show you performance down there. But for each one of these, I can expand it and show you administrative areas and then part of the ActivReporter. Now, in a product like Management Reporter, even though it contains the chart of accounts, you really can't see your chart of accounts in Management Reporter, but you can in ActivReporter. And down at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll notice there's 497 entries in the chart of accounts. But we can also see all your journal entries. These are all of the balanced journal entries in your Dynamics GP database. And in this case, there's 3,370. So these are balanced entries. But we can also see all of the single-legged entries, all your journal entries. And you'll notice down at the bottom left, there's 59,000 of these entries. They came up almost instantaneously. And typically we can bring in from 50 to 100,000 items into this listing that you see on the right-hand side of your screen per second, 50 to 100,000 per second. We can scroll all the way down through them. So this is like your smart list on steroids. You can also highlight a group of them, and down in the, so we highlight a group of them in pink here, and down in the status bar, you'll see that the total highlighted debits are $5,612.76. The total credits are $4,427, and the net activity between debits and credits is $1184.83. So this is a lot like a spreadsheet. Will give you the totals at the bottom. We give you the totals at the bottom. But if you really need it in a spreadsheet, anytime you see one of these screens like this, we call it the high definition screen because you're seeing your accounting data in high definition. You can take and copy that to Excel. It's very quick. And so this is already copied to Excel here, but it copies it to an Excel table with those same totals at the bottom that we were showing you that exist in the ActivReporter product itself. So you can copy it to Excel if you want to. Another thing that I want to point out is that over in Dynamics GP, in order to go from company to company, you need to log out of one company and log into another company using the splash screen here. But in ActivReporter, we can go to any company and look at the chart of accounts, and we can go down here to the university, look at its chart of accounts, so we don't have to log out of one company and log into another company in order to see data in all the companies at practically the same time. So you avoid that log out and log in problem. Okay, so now I want to show you just a little bit more about the journal detail. We talked about that, and there's 59,000 items. And just like in the drill down explorer, if we see an item down here that we want to look at, that $1,007.42, we can drill back and see that in Dynamics GP. So here's that $1,007.42 in GP. So not only can you do it from the Excel spreadsheet experience, but you can do it from the experience here. You can also trace back on your chart of accounts. So we have the ability to look back into Dynamics GP from this representational data that's in ActivReporter. But of course, what we talked about earlier, and that is that we want to show you how you can build financial statements in Excel. So looking at the navigation bar here, I'm going to close everything except Fabricam. We have something called Financial Designs. And you might suspect that's where your Excel spreadsheets reside, because here is a list of all the Excel designs that we have in this particular company in ActivReporter. A few minutes ago, I told you that the spreadsheet that I started with was this Showcase 2021 was stored on my desktop. But I also said at the same time that we really like for you to store your Excel spreadsheets, your .xlsx files inside the database. This is that same Showcase 2021, but this is stored inside the database. I'm going to open it and look at it. I give it a date for which to get a reference for the numbers in the background. It goes out and reads all the data and puts the data on the spreadsheet. One more thing that I want to point out is that in Management Reporter, you're really restricted to producing one statement at a time. You can produce a balance sheet, then you can produce an income statement, then you can produce all your other statements, and then you can manually go collect all of those and put them into a spreadsheet. But with ActivReporter, you can produce them all simultaneously. So if I want to take this spreadsheet and go to a different date, I can say this currently in April of 2017. If I want to go back to 2016, period 1, say okay, and count 1,000. Well, I didn't even get to 2,000 before it calculated all of these other spreadsheets based on the same time frame, which was in this case for the year of 2016. So therefore, you can produce all your statements in one spreadsheet all at the same time, not having to produce them individually and then pasting them all together with cut and paste and merging spreadsheets together. And as I said, I wanted to point out that we're storing this inside the database. Why do we do that? Well, security is one thing. You always know where the authoritative copy is. You don't have to wonder whose desktop or whose file system this is involved, this is stored in. But we also keep up with all historical versions. So this particular spreadsheet started in October of 2019 in version 1, and it's gone through 47 revisions over the last 3 years or 2 years or so, and now it's at version 47. I can, for any prior version, I can go restore it to be the current version, or I can just open it and look at it. How many times have you messed up a spreadsheet and had to go to your IT department and say, please replace this from the end of last month? I've got it in a mess. Well, in this case, since you're storing it inside the database and you can look at all your prior versions, you're in control of your own destiny. You aren't going to rely on IT to restore that database. You can do it yourself. And that's another advantage of storing the XLSX files inside the database. But what we really want to do at this point in time is show you how easy it is to build your own financial from scratch. So I'm going to start and I'm going to build a new financial. I'm going to call this Bobby's, since Bobby is our host today, First Financial. And we'll open the workbook. When I open a workbook in the context of ActivReporter, I need to give it a date because all the numbers that I'm going to put in the cells back here need to have a date reference. So I'm going to put in April of 2017. And now this is just Excel, your home button in Excel, but it has the added ribbon for Activity HD. So for a few minutes here, I'm going to show you a detailed way to build your financials one cell at a time. But hold on, because in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how to build your entire spreadsheet very quickly. But I want to show you the versatility you have by showing you to build it one cell at a time. So if I'm going to build a balance sheet here, I would want to go up here somewhere like in F1 and put the name of the company. Well, remember, we have a company name function. So I'm going to use that company name function, and it will go out to the database and find the company is Fabricam and put in the name of the company. And since this is just Excel, I'll color it red. I'll make it a lot bigger. I'll make it bold. I can do whatever I want because I'm just Excel with added functions. And then below the name of the company, I might want to put in the date. And remember, we had the date that we referenced when we first went in. So what I can do is I can go to my Activity HD ribbon and put in the period as of period end, and it will remembers what I picked, the date I picked when I first came into the spreadsheet, April 30th of 2017. But I could go up here to my options and change this from April to May. And as soon as I do so, since I have immediate calculation turned on, that will change to May of 2017. Now remember, I'm building it one cell at a time here. In a minute, we're going to show you a much more efficient way to do this. But one cell at a time, maybe over here in B5, I would like to put in the name of an account or the name of a group of accounts. I'm going to start with a single account. So I'm going to go here to my accounts ribbon function, and I'm going to put in the description of a single account, and that account is 000-1100-00, and I'm going to put an A on the end of it. Now, A is something that ActivReporter adds to your account structure. It does not affect your GP in any way, but this just tells ActivReporter that we want the numbers that are posted to the actual set of books. And this is in deference to the budget amounts or to the IFRS amounts, if you understand reporting ledger. So anyway, we're bringing in the name of that account, 000-1100-00, and putting it into B5. And then maybe over here into H5, I would want to put the balance of this cash and bank account. So I can go up here to my financial functions where my numeric functions are and bring in the balance. But I want to show you that this is embedded into Excel. So I'm going to go into the Excel insert function wizard, and I'm going to call up all of the activity financial functions, and the balance function here shows you that we've built it into Excel because we're using their wizards to bring in our functions, and I can bring in the balance function here. And the balance function requires 5 parameters or 5 filters onto the data. The first filter is the period that by default is May 31st of 2017, but I can reference different periods if I want to. The items 1 and items 2 represents the accounts, so are the groups of accounts. In this case, I want to represent cash and bank. The company represents the company databases, and the units represent currencies. So to begin with, I'm not going to put any filters on here at all. I'm just going to say OK. And I have a number that's presented here. And if I go to my home button and put a comma in it so I can read it, I have a number, $132 million. Now, hopefully I have some accountants in the audience, and you're going to say immediately, wait a minute. If you add up all your debits and all your credits for all your accounts as of May 31st, 2017, I should get 0. But no, I've got 132 million. But remember, we can drill down on this number and investigate what's here. So we can go all the way through this list. Oh, wait a minute. Look, I've got a lot of accounts here ending in B, and the accounts ending in B represent budget amounts. And in Dynamics GP, budgets do not have to be in balance. In fact, they aren't in balance. So I need to eliminate the budget entries from my number here if I'm going to get a 0 balance. So I can do that by going back into the wizard, back into the insert functions wizards, and I'm going to say I only want to look at the ledger, which is equal to A, the actual postings, except I need to type in an A there, and I'll just go up here into the ribbon and put it in. And so now I do get 0. Almost instantaneously, it went out and did that calculation and put it onto the cell H5 in the spreadsheet. But wait a minute, I don't want 0, I want just the cash and bank account. So I'll go back into that function wizard again, and I can say I just want that account, gl.account, which is equal to 000-1100-00-A. And when I do so, I get a number 727, 868, 80, and I can check my work as I go because I can drill down on that number, and I can see on my drill down explorer here, if I sort by account in ascending and descending order, all of the postings are to that one account, 000-1100-A. And if I sort in ascending and descending order by date, I can see that the latest posting date is May of 2017. So therefore, I can prove that that is the balance of the cash and bank account as of May 31st, 2017. Now, one more thing I'm going to do before I show you the quick way to build financials. I'm going to show you that what happens when I make a posting into Dynamics GP. So I'm going to go over here into Dynamics GP, and you all know what you have to do in Management Reporter. You have to recalculate or regenerate that Management Reporter report. So I'm going to go over here in my GP, and I'm going to build a batch so that it goes into a temporary posting and save that batch. And then I'm going to make a journal entry, and I'm going to make a journal entry into that account 000 1100 00, and I'm going to put a credit of $100,000 in that account. Now, if I put a credit of 100,000, this number should change from 727 to 627. Now, before I do so, I need to offset that with another account. I'll use the petty cash account for 100,000, and I'm going to save this. Now, I haven't touched the keyboard, and you didn't see any change in it. But now if I just touch the F9 key, which is the regenerate your spreadsheet, then that number does go to 627 instead of 727. You'll also notice that I am including unposted entries, and that is an option that you have in the activity ribbon. You can choose to include those unposted entries or not, depending upon whether that check mark is checked. In this case, I'm including them. So that posting was made over here in GP. And the only thing I needed to do to update that is the F9 key. No regeneration of the entire financial. Okay, so let's put away this financial. And now I want to show you an easy way to build these spreadsheets. So I'm going to save this spreadsheet. Not that button, but I want to hit the save button here to save the spreadsheet. And I'm going to save the container. And remember, we keep up with versions. So the first version is at 33 minutes past the hour. I'm going to go back into that same financial design and show you the easy way to build these financials with a wizard. Again, I need to give it a date. I'm going to go back to April of 2017. And as soon as I do so, it goes to the database and populates the database with all the information. I'm going to go to sheet number 2 here to show you the easy way to build it. So we have something called layout wizards. And these layout wizards build traditional balance sheet, income statements, and trial balances. So I'm going to choose the balance sheet of current versus the prior year. This pretty well tells me I want a column for the current year and a column for the prior year. But it really doesn't tell me what to put on the rows. So the financial items tells me what to put on the rows. I could put every account in the chart of accounts. That would be something similar to what I started over here in sheet 1 with the cash and bank. But typically in financial designs, you want to aggregate your accounts. You want to bring a lot of accounts into the same line on your financial design. We can use categories from GP. We can use things from Management Reporter, which we'll show in a few minutes. Or we can use things that were built just inside ActivReporter itself. But for my first example, I'm going to use the GP categories restricted to the balance sheets. Now, I know many of you who are using Management Reporter don't really maintain your categories. Well, hold on, I'm going to show you the solution to that in a few minutes. But on our first example, we're going to use categories restricted to the balance sheet. And then in just a second or so, this generates all of the data for us for the financial. We are not having to build it one line at a time like we did in sheet 1. In this case, it built all of the formulas for us. Now, what did those formulas consist of? Those formulas are formulas based, in this case, on the balance function. But if I look at that function, what we're doing here is we're using the native innate capability of Excel to dereference your variables. So what that means is that I've got all the variables for this function up here in the top 3 rows and the left 3 columns as indicated by the colored bars. And if you really think about it, that formula is the same as this formula, is the same as this formula. The only difference in all of those formulas are the numbers that are represented up here in the dereferenced variables in the first 3 rows and the left 3 columns. Well, many of our competitors have reserved areas in the spreadsheet in the top and the left. But what I want to emphasize to you is that this is just Excel. We do not have reserved rows and columns. We're only using the innate features of Excel and dereferencing variables to make these spreadsheets very easy to build. And even if I built it by hand, if you observe these same characteristics, if you build this one formula in one cell, you can get all the other formulas in all the other cells just by maintaining or supplying the data in the first 3 rows and the left 3 columns. So this is an efficient way to build any spreadsheet, not just something that came out of ActivReporter. And why is this an efficient way? Well, in this case, I have the year 2017 in column G, and in column 28, in column H, I have 2016. What if I want to put 2015 in column J? By using this technique, I can copy column H, I can paste it into column J, and then I can change this one variable from current minus 1 year to current minus 2 years, and I'm done. So therefore, if you can build one cell and one spreadsheet using this dereference variables concept, you can multiply your efforts. And I think you can see how we could do a 10-year historical financial in just a few seconds. And then, of course, what if I wanted to put budgets in column H? I can copy column G, I can insert those copied cells into column H, and I can change my actuals to my budgets, and I'm done. And of course, you can check your work because you can drill down on any of these numbers and see that the numbers are representational, or if this is a balance, if this is a budget, you can see all of the numbers here are from your budget ledgers or from your budgets in Dynamics GP. So by using this technique of dereferencing your variables, you can build big financials very quickly. Now, this financial is not quite complete. It needs some help. It needs some decoration. You do need to go in and you need to put in things like your literals, and you need to maybe put some spaces in here and do some subtotalings. But this is just Excel work. If you can, I mean, if not, you always use Excel. So we can go to the sum button here and put in the sum. We can highlight that. We can put in a top border. We can put a $sign on it. We can copy this function into the other cells here. But everything that's left to do after the wizard gets finished is just something you already know, because you already know Excel. And you can put color on it. You can do anything you want to dress it up. You can put graphs on it. You can do anything that you need to dress up those spreadsheets to make them look and appropriate for your audience. Okay, so we've shown you how to build spreadsheets one cell at a time. We've shown you how to build spreadsheets where we can put in use the wizard to build these financials very quickly, the next thing I'm going to show you over here in sheet number 3 is how we can extract your current information in Management Reporter and put it into ActivReporter and build financials from your Management Reporter designs. So I'm going to save this one, and I'm going to save my container, and now we have 2 versions, one at 33 minutes past the hour and one at 40 minutes past the hour. I'll put that away just for a minute. And the next thing I want to do is go into the report definitions in Management Reporter. So this is something, if you use Management Reporter, you know and love. These are your report definitions. Now, the most tedious thing to do in building a financial design in Management Reporter is come up with the rows. And so I'm going to open this row definition meant for this particular balance sheet. And the tedious thing to do here is to come up with all of these row definitions or the links to financial data. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this information on the row definition in Management Reporter and move this to ActivReporter, because we have the same concept in ActivReporter, and it's called roll-ups. So we have a program that you can run. It's called New Roll-ups from Management Reporter Rows. So I'll run that program. We do have to give it authentication into the Management Reporter tables. So I'll give it that. And then it lists here a whole list of your row definitions out of Management Reporter. The first one being that FAB balance sheet right here. Second one being that cash flow, that cash statement here, and so forth. So I'm going to use number 1. And so that number 1, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to maintain the same name as it has in Management Reporter. And now if you'll look in this area, as soon as it finishes, it painted that over here and put that into ActivReporter. I need to do one thing. I need to activate it. Takes just a second or so. And then I'll look at it so that you can see I have the same data in this row definition or in this roll-up that I have in this row definition. So looking at the first one, cash operating account, this is every account between 1100 and 1130 included, and that's what I have here in Management Reporter from 1100 to 1130, the single account 1190, and the single account 1800. And if you work yourself down through some of the other rows, this third and fourth row, the fourth row is 13 star and 14 star, and that's what I have over here in Management Reporter. So what we've done so far is we've taken a Management Reporter row definition and moved it into ActivReporter. Now we can go back into that same financial that we've been working on, Bobby's first financial, right here, and we can go back into the workbook, and we can use that design that we just extracted from Management Reporter and create a new spreadsheet based on that design. So I'll run my layout wizard, balance sheet current versus prior year, and now I'll use that FAB balance sheet design, and voila, I have my template financial ready to dress up a little bit with the particular dressing or the lipstick that you want to put on this, however you need to do that. And then you can have with just a few more minutes work, all of which is just native Excel work, you can duplicate the statement that you had in Management Reporter in ActivReporter. And you'll notice, just because I started that, we don't bring over the literals like the assets here, and we don't bring over the totaling mechanisms over here in Management Reporter. But we do bring over all the hard stuff, all the calculations. So you have a little bit more work to do, all of which is just Excel work. So now we've shown you how to build one-line financials. We've shown you how to build financials based upon the categories, and we've shown you how to build financials based upon Management Reporter row definitions. So I'm going to put this away. I'm going to save it, And you'll notice in my versions here that I now have 3 versions. The first one, which was the single one cell at a time, the second one, which was the categories, and the third one, which was the management reporter. So in about 5 minutes there, I built a management reporter report. I agree, you've got some lipstick to put on it, but besides that, you're essentially through with a duplicate of your management reporter reports. Okay, so now I want to talk about you've worked several weeks. Boy, I made a mistake there. You've worked a few minutes in building your financial design. How do you look at various incarnations of that design? So I'm going to go down to one that we've already got complete, this income statement, current versus year to date. And I'm going to bring in that workbook and just show it to you. Because a lot of you spend some time or have the requirement to do trees that you do in Management Reporter. So I'm going to show you, first of all, how to do a tree manually, and then we're going to show you how to do it automatically in publishing these financials to the appropriate people in your organization that need to see these financials. So here is a financial and income statement for the entire company Fabricam. But Fabricam has 8 divisions, and I need to produce a financial for each one of those 8 division managers. If I look at one of these numbers, you can see a couple of divisions here. That's the first 3 characters of the chart of account number. You'll see that that's division 300, and then down here at the bottom are some division 0, which is the corporate division. 300 is the accounting division, I believe. What if I want to produce this financial just for the corporate division 000? I can do so manually by going up into my options and say, I want to limit this financial to just the division 000. And then when I say OK, all of these numbers were repainted. And now I just have in that number, 29,019. I just am looking at those numbers from division 000. But if I go change my options to look at the account 300, then I repaint this and now drill down on this, and this has just got the division 300 in it. And you'll also notice that up here in below my name of the company and period, I have that is the sales division, not the accounting division that I told you it was. So we can build these various divisional statements easily by going into the spreadsheet and inserting the limits of what those numbers should be. But if you were really producing this for your divisions, you might have 50 divisions or 50 departments that you need to disseminate spreadsheets or disseminate the financials to, and you wouldn't want to go in here 50 times and make that change and produce it and print it or email it or whatever you want to do. So we have a more efficient way to do that, and that's called publishing the financial. So I'm going to close this. I'm not going to save it, but now I'm going to go back, and this is another reason why we really like for you to store your financials inside the database, because when you do this, you can select to publish the financial here, and this will bring up a dialog box, which will allow us to tell it who I'm going to publish this for, what I'm going to iterate over to produce all of these financials for all of my, in this case, division managers, and how I'm going to produce it. Am I going to print it and give them a physical copy? Am I going to put it into a PDF file and email it? Or the interesting thing is I could print it here. So I could choose this printer button. I could choose to make a PDF file out of it, but it might be most interesting to give them a spreadsheet. And I want to move this over just a little bit so that you can see these happen. So I'm going to publish these financials. I'm back right where I was, and I'm going to produce Excel spreadsheets. and I'm going to iterate over the not departments, but the divisions. So I'm going to produce a divisional statement for each of my division managers. Now I could iterate over divisions and departments. In that case, I think I get about 30 different financials for those particular managers. But in this case, I'm just going to go to divisions, and I'm going to produce Excel workbooks for them, not PDF files. I'm going to produce a workbook. So when I say OK here, then to my desktop, I'm going to get these financials produced. And you're going to see them come out here in a column on my desktop. So when I say next, here's the first one up here in the top, and here's the second one coming in, and then the third one, and so forth. So this will go out and produce a divisional statement for all my division managers that I can put in a SharePoint uh, container, or I could email it to them or do something else with it. It's already produced all those 8 financials. I can go up and look at my division 0 financial. This is the corporate division, and these numbers are similar to the numbers that we showed you a few minutes ago when we were doing this by hand. But this spreadsheet is a little bit unique because all of the formulas have been replaced by the values. And if I try to change something, the whole spreadsheet is protected. So when you produce or publish these for consumption by your divisional managers in this case, then we replace all formulas by the physical value, and we protect the sheet so that they can't change it, but they can still look at it. And if you want them to, you can allow them, if they have access to the database, you can allow them to connect this up to your database. And so for any number on here, the divisional manager can drill down and look at his postings, and he can, if you want to let him, drill back to Dynamics GP and see the postings in Dynamics GP. So that's the experience you'll get when you publish your financials for your divisional managers. Now I want to show you one more thing about the product that is very interesting, and that's something that you'll use every day in your discovery and in your account research, and that's called a financial view. And the most interesting, or one of the most interesting ones here, is the trial balance. So this trial balance financial view is active. This is not like your trial balance over here in Dynamics GP, which is a report or a report to the screen or to the printer. What I mean by active is that when I make a change or make a posting in Dynamics GP, it will be reflected immediately. I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But I also want to show you that you can change the data. So if I want to go back to 2016 to period June, then that repainted that screen. And if I want to, there's not a lot of data here, but if I wanted to examine that 61,000 or that 1,020,000, I can look at the postings behind that. And just like in all the other cases that you've seen, if I come up with a posting here and I want to see it back in Dynamics GP, I can look at that posting 1161 back in Dynamics GP. So we have the same experience that we had in spreadsheets in the trial balance, but this just allows me to do account research on steroids, because now I have the ability to research and research well any set of accounts, any trial balance, any category, any management report or roll up. You can put all of those in something similar to this presentation that I've shown you and examine those numbers. I'm going to go back to April of 2017 because I want to show you that it is active. So I'm back into April of 2017. I'm going to go over here to my GP, and I'm going to make some postings. And just like I did a few minutes ago, I'm going to post these into a batch. So I'm going to put these into the XYZ batch and save that batch. And now I'm going to give it a reference of test. And now you don't want to watch me type, so I have memorized transactions recorded in a macro, and I'm going to play back these 5 transactions that you can see being posted here in Dynamics GP. And as soon as they're posted in Dynamics GP on the right, you will see them appear in this general area of the trial balance here on the left. So I'm going to play this transaction, which is these 5 postings. And now sometimes I type too fast because it doesn't get the 5 postings. Open that file. And why doesn't it play? Macro play 5 postings. Oh, I think I have to be on that field. Macro play 5 postings. And now here they come in. So that's a limitation on the macro. But as soon as they were made here in Dynamics GP, they appeared. It's all these 100, 300, 400, 500 postings. Since I have the ability to include or not include unposted entries, just with clicking that one button, I can include or not include them. And of course, if I go over here in Dynamics GP and recall that budget, recall that posting XYZ, this one right here. And if I delete it, they're all going to disappear over here. So I can delete this, and as soon as I do so, they all disappeared. So it is an immediate update. You can put on the screen here anything that you want. You can watch your people post. You can watch your accounts payable spend money. You can watch your sales organization make sales and the sales going up without hitting a single keystroke. It is Activ, built on the concept of an Activ database. Okay, I've covered a lot about the product. I want to finish up with the slides here for just a minute. So we'll bring back up the slides and talking about the pricing. We sell this in units of company databases. So if you have anywhere from 1 to 10 databases, there's no limit on the number of users. There's not a user-based license like in GP. We'll give you installation assistance and 4 hours of training, all for an initial fee of $1,000 plus $70 a month. So for most of you, that's going to be $1,840 for your first year and $840 for every subsequent year. If you have more than 10 GP databases, then you just divide by 10. So here's an example. If you have 22, whoops, I need to go up a screen. If you have 22 databases, then you require 3 licenses, $3,000 initial fee, $210 per month, and we allocate the training at 8 hours. There is one example of if you're hosted in a third-party hosting, or if you're working in a situation where you cannot allow anything except SQL running on your SQL box, then the initial fee is $2,000 for each 10 company Dynamics GP databases. Okay, so that's the licensing. I want to open it up a minute for questions. If you have questions, I don't know if I don't see any questions currently in the chat area. If you have a question, would you type it in there? Or alternatively, you can, of course, approach Bobby. He knows a lot about this product. He's got several installations. I'll wait just one more minute for people typing in questions. I don't see any, or if I'm looking at the right area. And I'll continue to monitor questions here for a minute, but I'm going to turn this back over to Bobby at this time and let him conclude. Bobby, it's all yours. Thank you for allowing us to present to your customers today.
Perfect. Great. And thank you, Marvin, for the overview of ActivReporter. It certainly was helpful to see just how you can do everything within Excel there within ActivReporter. So For those of you clients who are on the phone, when you're ready to move forward with Active Reporter, please just give me a call. My number there listed there was 859-514-1199, or feel free to drop me a quick email, bhaggard@trendsoft.com, and we'll be happy to help answer questions or help walk through that purchase process for you with the AccountingWare team. And then, as Marvin just showed, one final reminder here: upon exit, there is a chance to win an Amazon gift card. So please be sure to complete that survey and get that chance to win. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. Again, Marvin and the AccountingWare team, we certainly appreciate you guys coming on and leading the webinar today. And those of our clients who are on today, again, thank you for all that you do with us. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks, everyone.